Hey everybody, welcome on back to the Rubbin is Racing podcast. It's brought to you by Cabo Wabo Tequila, the unquestionably Mexican tequila with an undeniably American attitude. And Cabo Wabo isn't just tequila, it's damn good, thick cut, 100% Blue Weber agave tequila, which is a mouthful. And Cabo Wabo Tequila is the official tequila partner of NASCAR. So add a bold splash to race day watching with Cabo Wabo. If you're heading to a race this weekend, come celebrate race day with Cabo Wabo. But want to remind you to leave the drivings to the professionals, so please enjoy the thick-cut, bold taste, of Cabo Wabo tequila responsibly. Grab your buds, a bottle of Cabo Wabo tequila for the boldest race day experience. You got to be 21 years or older, and you have to handle it responsibly. Thank you so much for your continued support, Cabo Wabo, and I hope to see you in the background of many tailgates at Talladega this weekend. Hey, boys, welcome on back. How's everybody doing?
Fantastic. Great. What's up? What's up?
We just got an update because Spider had asked Moonhead how close he was to all the devastation that we're seeing on the news. And thankfully, he is out of harm's way, at least for now, which is very, very fortunate. But a lot of people aren't so fortunate. So Barstool, to do its part, is selling these Mountain Strong pocket tees in the Barstool Sports store. And 100% of the net proceeds will be donated to the Manna Food Bank in Asheville, North Carolina. This is a cause that's near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, particularly Caleb, who I think grew up in that area. So He's kind of leading the charge with selling these T-shirts. I can tell you right now, the T-shirt is $35. I know some people, when they just want to donate money to causes like this, they try to have that sweet spot, maybe 25, 50, or 100. I think this is kind of nice because you get to show some of your sport by wearing it around. It's a good T-shirt, and it goes to a good cause. So we've seen so many stories about how the NASCAR community has reached out, whether it's donating choppers and private jets and haulers to try and get stuff that people need to the people who need it. And Barstool is doing its small part by offering this Mountain Strong pocket tee, and you can find it on the Barstool Sports store. Spider, it's been pretty impressive watching some of these clips of, Joe Gibbs Racing loading up bottles of water and all that stuff into haulers that we're very familiar with going to and from racetracks and kind of bringing it out to people. It's nice to see people come together with this, even though it's a tragic situation.
Yeah, it's great. I saw Greg Biffle was doing some work, so not both, former and active drivers seem to have, very instrumental part in the cleanup and rebuilding, which I think is admirable. I saw Brad Keselowski was involved. Trackhouse, Team Colleague Racing, like literally every team, you name it, which is really cool. And I don't know, it sucks, unfortunate tragedy, and I think it's good that they're using the resources for the right reasons.
I like to inject levity even in the most darkest times. So I will tell you, who hasn't done anything so far?
I know what you're gonna say.
Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah.
SVG. He's like, it's not my problem. It's not my country. Just put that in the back of your head before you buy a fucking, a hat. You know what I mean? Right? Quicks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
we gotta get Shane out there.
Daniel Suarez, both feet in, trying to help out. Lee Diffie, both feet in, trying to help out. Shane Van Cheeseburger or whatever, not my fucking problem. Whatever. Take it if you will. Let's start off with some DMs. We got two this week. One was from Josh Stevens. Last week I said if Harrison Burton is jumping in the 15 a.m. racing car next year, why doesn't he run the rest of the season for them? Just pull double duty just to get used to the organization in the car. And it was stupid for me to say because Josh Stevens says, large Barstool on this week's show you mentioned why not have Harry Burton run for AM. Since the playoffs have started for Xfinity, full-time Cup Series drivers can't compete in Xfinity or Cup races, so I will shut up and not mention it again, and I appreciate that, Josh. Anything that makes us look a little bit smarter, I appreciate. The second one I think everyone's going to have some feedback for, a gentleman named Carter. I don't want to give his last name. I don't think it's a big deal. Hey, Large, myself and 4 buddies are driving 20 hours from Sudbury, Ontario to Talladega, Alabama this week and camping in the infield. Any tips from us to do crazy shit while we're there? Also, you and Spider making an appearance. Big fan of the pod. Spider, I don't know what to tell the kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, I did look at the weather right away, and it looks like we're going to have a honey of a weekend in Talladega, maybe a little bit of rain in the morning on Friday, but otherwise clear skies, which is an absolute blessing for Carter and his friends who are going to get tore up from the floor up. But what would you say? What would you say to somebody going to Talladega for his first time running a convoy down from Sudbury, Ontario?
My advice would be, it sounds like what do you say, 20 hours? Yeah.
20 hours, yeah.
I would stop at Buc-ee's immediately
yeah.
in Alabama. I forget where explicitly, but there's one not too far from the track, and that would be the one I would tell them, Carter, you got to stop there. I don't know if they probably definitely don't have that in Canada, right?
No.
I can't imagine.
No.
Yeah, so when
won't
Carter
allow it.
sets his eyes on the beef jerky wall and like the chopped beef brisket, he's going to be in heaven, and I'm kind of jealous because unfortunately we're not going to be there, but we are going to be an upcoming race, so that'll be fun. But yeah, Buc-ee's would be my pit stop. Carter.
I'm amazed with how desolate it is in and around Talladega. Like, it's not like Daytona where you could just cross the street and be in a PF Chang's. There's nothing there. So literally, if you're going to go to Buc-ee's, load the fuck up.
Yeah.
There's also a pretty good Walmart, right? We stayed next to the Walmart, kind of like 25 miles away, right? Remember? So if you need, I'm saying bring everything you need. Don't think, oh, shit, I'll get a couple of phone charges while I'm down there, because you will not. Do not put a priority on showering, because nobody does. I mean, you're probably going to have some of the filthiest sex of your life, and I appreciate you doing it. Just make sure there's consent. And it's just not a, it's NASCAR in its basest form, and it's 100% wonderful. Any tips for Quakes? You haven't been to Talladega.
I've not.
You haven't been. Moonhead, have you been there?
Oh, yeah.
Of course you have. What would you tell a first-timer from Sudbury, Ontario?
Man, that's going to be a culture shock. I feel like if he's from Canada. Hydrate would probably be my number one bit of advice for Talladega, because I've gone to Dega not properly hydrated before, and that's not fun.
Yeah, you're a little bit of a deviant. So what would you say? Like, just water, load up on the Advil?
Yeah.
Again, you can't bring enough shit, particularly if you guys are driving. Just if you feel like you overpacked, you probably didn't. And then obviously spend a lot of time on the boulevard. Say hello to the fat guy who just sits there with his shirt off with the microphone telling you that Kyle Busch is a douchebag, right? He gives out stickers. You think it's an insult, but they'll put some sort of duct tape on your back, which means that you're a first-timer, and in every place you go to on the boulevard then just gives you a shot, as opposed, you have to tip everybody, but sometimes they purposely try to get first-timers drunk as fuck. There are stripper poles, live music.
That's what I was going to add.
Yeah.
Carter, if you see the stripper pole, even if you don't see the strippers, just make note of it and remind yourself maybe in a couple hours this area of the boulevard's going to tear it up. So I mean, the internet, even for those not at Talladega, we're blessed with an unbelievable video from Talladega earlier this year. So I would have, you know what I'm talking about,
Oh, you're
Large.
damn right. I have it. I got that one. Yeah.
He's got that
saved.
bookmark, that sick fuck. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be a party. I think use all of our advice. Stop at Buc-ee's, get everything you need, get all your hydration, your beer, and then go in there and be prepared for the culture shock that will be Talladega. Could only imagine a Canadian's perspective on it.
I think when you walk around Talladega, you'll understand why the terrorists hate us. Like, it's one of those things where it's almost a fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, and they do it on purpose. Everybody there does it on purpose, myself included. I get more country. My soft ass hands gets more country when I get down to Alabama. It's a place where you can't wear anything that's outrageous, because everything is fucking outrageous. So every person who says, "Oh, it's my first time cutting off a pair of overalls and with no shirt," everybody's there. Like, so just let your freak flag fly and have a fucking great time. Let's get on to headlines and rumors. NASCAR is partnering with Ticketmaster next season. Has anyone ever had a positive experience with Ticketmaster?
No.
This as a headline is exactly what fucking NASCAR doesn't need. Do you guys agree with that? And perhaps they have something in the works that's going to stop all the fees, like perhaps. But in general, this is like saying we're going through Al-Qaeda ticketing, as far as I'm concerned, because everybody hates ticket. Anybody positive on this at all?
No, I got nothing.
No, I'm a game time ticket guy myself, but this just seems like they framed it as an upgrade, but it really just seems like it's going to hurt the fans in the long run. So I'm interested to see how it plays out, although I remain kind of pessimistic.
There's a great YouTube video. I like to watch these like deep dives into things, and it's called something along the lines of like how Ticketmaster ruined the ticketing industry, and it's a very interesting watch.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll take a poke at that. I watched a bunch of Dale stuff on a plane. I watched a bunch of Dale Senior stuff for the first time. How do you feel about Ticketmaster? Manolo, you jumping out of your seat?
So Ticketmaster's going through like a massive like class action lawsuit right now in the United States, and they're pretty much being pointed at as a monopoly between Ticketmaster and Live Nation. Pretty much everyone is on board with fuck Ticketmaster, me as well. This is the first time, though. I feel like I've seen this over the last like 15 years happen a bunch of times. This seems like the first time where it actually has a little bit of gas behind it. Like,
Okay.
It actually might lead to something. So it could end up being something good for NASCAR. But if this fizzles out like it has every other time, Ticketmaster's just going to keep being a monopoly and fucking everybody over sideways.
I mean, people hate it. I can't imagine, Moonhead, you've had some, right? Just
No,
same nightmares.
I've never had a good Ticketmaster experience.
What does it mean that they're partnering with them? Because I kind of assume this season, if I wanted to, I could go on Ticketmaster.com, type in NASCAR, and find tickets. Is it something more than that?
I should be a little bit more specific. I'm sorry, Moonhead, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the only positive I can find is a lot of the tracks, which I haven't bought like tickets from everywhere, but a lot of the tracks you buy them on their site, and it's not exactly the greatest experience going through that either. So I think maybe from like a infrastructure of the website standpoint, Ticketmaster might be better, but you're going to pay probably more. But I don't know the details. Do you I guess Large has the details more of what they're saying.
It's all NASCAR-owned tracks, majority of tracks that they run on. And to Moonhead's point, like as you go to all these different tracks, which we're lucky enough to do, you realize you're on these different mailing lists because all these tracks kind of take care of their own, so I get a lot of stuff from Charlotte Motor Speedway, I get a lot of stuff from Martinsville, all these things, they seem to do these things on their own. We're extremely lucky that we have NASCAR take care of a lot of our credentials and we're hard-carded and whatnot. It's an absolute blessing, but we also always bring guests, so we kind of see the hoops that people have to jump through to use the specific and different tracks every time. So it does centralize that to a degree, but it's being centralized by a company that loves to tell you that it's a $30 ticket and then charges you $60 when you get to the fucking checkout count. I mean, honestly, it's the most egregious thing outside of airlines that I deal with on a regular basis, Ticketmaster. So perhaps NASCAR has some sort of deal with them saying, don't fuck our guys, but perhaps Ticketmaster is just going to Ticketmaster and everyone's going to be absolutely disappointed once this thing comes to fruition. We'll see, but it's not a great headline. Like the next headline we're going to give you is a great headline with Netflix coming back next year. Full speed to return to Netflix for a second season. And not only that, they're doing like this whole new production company for Full Speed that's going to offer all this different type of content. And it's a home run, I think, for NASCAR because we just had that special, Full Speed. And I had made the point that when F1 did that special, it was 6 years ago where you didn't have so many streaming options. You did, but not everyone was on board. Right now, as soon as I turn on my TV, I have 6 or 7 things that pop. Like it's a little bit more watered down. So maybe they're going to give us more content outside of Netflix also. Huge benefit for NASCAR. And I don't think anybody has a problem with this. Are you guys looking forward to Full Speed Season 2 and all the shit that goes along with it? What's the chances that we're on it in the background? I'm excited.
I'm pumped. My only hope is that it's a little bit different, fresher cast of characters, which I think hopefully will be the case. But yeah, I think any kind of coverage, long form documentary like that is awesome for the sport. And I love season 1. I think season 2 will be just as good, if not better. So I welcome it with open arms.
Yeah, I'm excited. I kind of forgot about it. That the fact that they've been filming, I guess, all year for it. Was season 1 was pretty much a playoff show, like recap, or was it full season? I can't remember.
It started with Daytona, I think, right at the cutoff, and then went through the playoffs.
Okay. So yeah, I wonder if they'll do that again, where it's more focused on just like the playoff push. Or if
they've had cameras embedded throughout the season.
Yeah.
So I think there's no shortage. When people saw Booty Barker, I lied to you. I think it sort of made him into kind of this superstar and whatnot. There are so many Booty Barkers out there that if they do take a deep dive and start to really get in the weeds with some of these characters, I think that they have the opportunity to have a really long-running, vast show or a series of shows or a series of content and shit like that. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I love the fact that they're expanding it just past, a 6-episode season. And one of the guys that I'm assuming is going to be on it, just because it was interesting for people who are outside of NASCAR to watch what had happened with Spire and Rick Ware, with swapping the drivers. I think Justin Haley's probably going to be on it. And the reason I bring that up is because Justin Haley's going to be on a little later on the show. We got Justin Haley for the first time as a guest at Rubbin' Race. I'm kind of excited to talk to the guy. I've never spoke to Justin. He seems like a wonderful chap. Moon, you a big fan of the Netflix stuff?
Absolutely. I loved it last year. I think NASCAR's needed something like that for a while. They've tried some shows. They've tried like the NASCAR Wives thing that was bad. The Austin Dillon show sucked, but the Netflix finally, I kind of think, balanced out the entertainment side to where somebody who doesn't give a shit about NASCAR could still be entertained and learn about the sport and maybe become interested. And then folks who already understand it and aren't looking to be sold on it could appreciate the level of access that they got. So I think it's a really, really, really good thing. I hope they continue it. I hope it's always a season-long thing, and I hope all the teams kind of embrace it and open their doors and really pull back the curtains and show what goes into each race week and all that. Because I think there's a lot of even diehard fans that just don't realize what all goes into a day-to-day operation of a race team. So I'm all for it. I'm very excited for it.
I hope they do stuff that is almost cheesy. For the first time yesterday, I love blind ranking on TikTok. I don't ever publish it, but I love blind ranking my top 10 Italian foods and putting spaghetti and meatballs at number 1. Oh fuck, there's chicken parm. It should have been number. Oh, what's in the 10 spot? Oh, it's got to be lasagna. I love doing that shit. I love judging which Marvel characters I can use to, you know what I mean? Like, I love blind ranking. It was the first time that I saw NASCAR blind ranking with active Cup drivers. I just did it before I came on, and I had left the number 1 open, and then up pops Tyler Reddick. And I can't be mad because I like Tyler Reddick, but obviously I had him ranked above. So having NASCAR kind of move into that zone, and perhaps with the new whatever they're forming, the full speed crew, I think it's going to be very, very good, particularly for the younger generation. So congratulations to NASCAR. Congratulations to Netflix. Hope they do a fucking ton of business. Kaulig announced they'll release the rights to the 31 at the conclusion of this season, and they'll pick up the rights to the number 10 for 2025, just so they have some continuity with the 10 and the 16 in both the Cup and the Xfinity Series. But more importantly, Kaulig has decided to replace Daniel Hemrick, who sits 29th in the standings, with Ty Dillon, who's currently competing in trucks part-time schedule for Kaulig in the Cup season in the number 16. Matt Kaulig said, "We think Ty, will be instrumental in continuing our Cup program in alliance with Richard Childress Racing." Right? So that's the crux of it. I don't know if this is how NASCAR has done everything historically, but when teams make a decision like this to basically replace Daniel Hemrick with Ty Dillon, everyone just says, well, Ty Dillon brings the money. Is that where we're at for the rest of time now? Is this how it's been since the beginning of time with NASCAR? That there's two things that seems to be like Riley Herbst. Everyone's like, oh, well, Riley, the Terribles, and they're going to help buy the charter, so it makes sense. Is that where we are? We're putting guys who have access to capital above guys who might be better wheelmen?
Yeah, I think that's always, well, maybe not always, but that's been the way it has been for a long, long time. But I think you're kind of glazing over the fact that this isn't entirely just a money grab, at least in my opinion. I'm of the opinion that Ty Dillon going to Kaulig is instrumental because of what was that quote you said, Large?
Oh, so we think he will be instrumental in continuing our Cup program in alliance with Richard Childress Racing.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
So I'm really buying into that second half of the sentence with the continuing our Cup program, the alliance with Richard Childress Racing. I think they probably have a better shot of getting more out of their alliance if they have who RCR wants in one of their cars. So I think that's exactly what this is. Does the cash help? Yes, absolutely. I do think he's probably more flush with cash, but I think it's a little bit more than that. And I don't necessarily love the move. I do think them getting number 10, however, is a W. I don't know. I think that's
I like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the silver
10
line.
is a better than 31.
And does Hemrick then jump into Allmendinger's seat in Xfinity? I mean, obviously there is no answer to that, but perhaps if he wants to stay, because Allmendinger had jumped down. So maybe if he wants to stay underneath the Kaulig umbrella, that might be an option for him.
Or maybe does he just go scorched earth and be like, you got
does
a
he wanna
silver
be under?
spoon driver replacing me. Why would I
Right.
want to take a demotion and be loyal to this team that has no loyalty to me?
Yeah, because it kind of cucks him a little bit.
Yeah.
I can see that. So you think the alliances are good then? Because we hear about it all the time. Like Henrik with Spire, JGR with 2311, RFK with Rick Ware. I just never understand how beneficial that those have been. Like, you know what I mean?
I kind of like it because you kind of have like mini teams of the bigger team. For example, like Team Penske has Wood Brothers. Hendrick now has Spire, which I'm really excited to see what that becomes. They're making overnight moves left and right to try to become more competitive by the day. And I can't wait to see what their product looks like next year. And then I had one other example. But yeah, it's basically like a smaller team where you can kind of, share and take ideas from. And I think it just drives the teams to be even more competitive. I'm starting to think that Trackhouse might need to have a manufacturer change, because if you look at the hierarchy of these teams, it's like Penske's in bed with, Wood Brothers. Hendrick now has Spire. Spire's probably going to jump to the spot that Trackhouse was aiming to be, in my opinion. So I think they either need to have a bigger alliance or consider changing manufacturers.
Do you agree then that Spire's going this way and Kaulig's going that way?
I do. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you
Spire's
also
definitely
agree?
on the up.
Would you also agree that somebody had commented on TikTok that outside of Briscoe replacing Truex, right? Like Truex retiring was a big headline. Briscoe getting that seat with all the stuff that happened at SHR was a big headline. By the way, good luck to Chase. He hasn't gone. His wife hasn't gone yet, but she's about to pop out twins any fucking second. So good luck. God bless with that. So outside of that, has the silly season just been filled with interchangeable names? Like at the end of the day, are we judging, is Daniel Hemrick better than Ty Dillon? Is Riley Herbst better than Ryan Preece? Is Zane Smith better than, Harrison Burke? Like, you know what I mean? Like it all seems like all this silly season stuff, which has been overwhelming for me to keep track of because I'm not that bright. But there hasn't been any real big movers, right? Everybody seems to wallow in that mediocrity, at least for now. Nothing splashy, correct?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like there's still been some surprises, and whether it be, mid-season trades happening and Haley going to the 7 like during the season, which we all thought would probably be at least next season at the earliest. And then there may be some contract extensions that I didn't necessarily foresee, whether it be Daniel Suarez getting a win early and getting extended and then kind of the Trackhouse pieces falling into place, or Zane Smith, still kind of uncertainty. But I don't know. I think it's been kind of exciting in that regard. I do think so. There's been a lot of names, and there are a lot of the carousel is full this year in terms of people changing. And obviously Briscoe and Truex has been the biggest domino to fall, but I still think it's probably been a better silly season than years I can remember.
I think the opposite. I think
Really?
it's suck. I've hated it. Like it's just a lot of talking about guys who I feel like aren't going to make massive differences to teams or be big winners themselves, and it's just a lot of like this guy who's below average is going to this team for this guy who's below average. And
It seems
that's
interchangeable.
kind of my
Like
opinion,
it's shaking up P25 to P35 every
Yeah.
week, right? But I don't
a lot
know
of
what
movement
it's,
down there.
I don't know what it's doing to the top 20.
Yeah.
Is that
And
unfair? Am I being unfair?
I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting a move that maybe I'm overlooking, but from everything I can remember, it's just been, I don't know, it hasn't been that interesting to me.
Yeah, and Briscoe is big. Like like that whole thing, and Stuart Haas closing down is a big thing. But I don't know. What do you think, Moon? So what do you think, Moon, of this silly season and the quality of the people who've been caught up in it, and then what we were saying about this move with Kaulig Racing?
So I think it's been entertaining, but I agree with y'all. I mean, it's been a lot of, I don't think there haven't been any major championship caliber like ride swaps through this or anything. The biggest one I can think of is Briscoe, but he's just filling a seat that was going to be open. It's not like anybody's getting the boot. As far as the Colleague move goes, like I think Spider nailed it. Like we know why they did it. I'm not. Ty Dillon has a lot of haters. I guess I would probably say I might be one of them, but I do think that Daniel Hemrick isn't any better than Ty Dillon, because I mean I think Hemrick's won like one race across the 3 series, and granted it won him a championship, but you know we all have our grievances with that format as it is anyways. So Ty Dillon's got some experience. I think the best move for Hemrick would be go down to Xfinity with Colleague, where they've proven that they've got good cars, where he's proven he can perform at a higher level. And then who knows, maybe he finds himself back in Cup one day or sooner than we think, because we don't know how RCR is going to shake up and if Ty Dillon could jump ship from Colleague, or who knows what he'll be doing in 5 years, whether it's leadership or whatever, because I think we're going to be hitting a point in NASCAR here soon where a lot of the owners we've known are going to be at an age where they want to just sit back and not be as involved. So there's probably going to be some people that we've seen as drivers or as figures in these teams moving up. And I feel like RCR has 2 pretty good candidates in Austin Dillon and Ty Dillon. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how it plays out. I'm not expecting any overnight changes though out of Colleague with this move.
When we were talking about the rumor that Bowman to the 7, I was like, wow, that's fucking splashy, right? Like that seemed like it was. By the way, when I said everyone picked their walkout music at Bristol, Bowman picked 7 Nation Army just to like poke fun at the fact everyone was talking about him going to the 7. I thought that was a nice little screw thing. I'm starting to get more impressed with Bowman every week. But yeah, it seems like every week that when we talk about this stuff, it's a bunch of guys who, if they were in the best equipment, I think they would be very good. This is not putting them down at all. I realize that a lot of his equipment and crew and all that shit, but it just seems like we're all hanging around that 25 to 35, that thing. But whatever. Let's get to the races this weekend. Trucks, Corey Heim is very good. Completes the season sweep at Kansas, ridden Friday night's Kubota Tractor, 200. Was Corey's 6th win of the season, his 2nd at Kansas, and the 11th Truck Series win of his career, and he's still only 22 years old. Congratulations to him. Xfinity, some people again saying Xfinity race was better than the Cup race this weekend. Eric Amarola took Cole Custer with 3 laps to go, but it was afterwards. Everyone was kind of going into the pits, jumping out of their car and having smoke with all these other guys, and I was there for it. Cole Custer and Chandler Smith got into it. Chandler Smith said that he didn't think that Cole ever had position. Cole said that he got squeezed. And at the end of the day, this is Cole Custer saying, at the end of the day, he put me in the fence and he's going to pay for it. Tread lightly, right? Because now that's on tape. Like, we know that when you threaten somebody, it's almost an empty threat. I think when you do say a threat out loud now in NASCAR, it's almost guaranteed to not come true, because NASCAR will find the shit out of you if you do. Riley Herbst got into it with Austin Hill afterwards, went right up to him. Austin Hill apologized. What a turn of the corner right there. Austin Hill is a new man, born-again Christian. Sammy Smith and A.J. Allmendinger, and A.J. Allmendinger didn't give a fuck. But I think one of the biggest gripes that people had with the Xfinity race is they moved the rest of the season to the CW, and the CW is not available to everyone. And everyone's like, no, it is. It's not. In certain local affiliates, they already had programming scheduled before they decided to make this move with the Xfinity races, and so people can simply just not watch Xfinity in certain areas, and that's got to be fixed. So I don't know when it gets fixed, but it certainly should be fixed. One of the people who can't watch it is Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards, by the way, can somebody stop me? This guy has now reached some sort of pantheon of legend. What did Carl Edwards mean to you as a kid, Moonhead? Was Carl Edwards that good as far as, what's his comp today? I'm going to ask you.
Ooh, I don't know, because it was just such a different time. I don't know. He was almost like the, I don't know if superhero is the right word, but he was just the nice guy who seemed like a little bit of a doomsday prepper, kind of kept to himself, never fed into like the social media stuff, but was still really good in the media. Could be a total dick if he needed to. Like he was not afraid to put somebody in the grandstands if they messed with him. But I don't know, I feel like with time, with him being retired and being out of the media, the mystery around him is just kind of flared up even more. So he almost seems like more of a badass. And then the fact that he can't even watch the races if he can't get them on his antenna TV, I could think kind of really just drives Carl Edwards home.
He doesn't have cable, so he can only watch the races when they're on network TV, and he can use his rabbit ears. That's the quote from Carl Edwards. Spider, so I asked Moon, these guys who are relatively new to the game, don't you put him a little bit more on a pedestal than perhaps even deserves? Carl Edwards, to me, just seems like he walks on fucking water. When he comes to a racetrack, people part ways. I love the backflip shit. Denny Hamlin went up to him at Kansas and said, listen, Carl, again, open invite. When you want to come back, I'll put you in a car. That's a special driver. What's your take on Carl Edwards just from 30,000 feet like mine is?
Yeah, all I really knew about him was the backflip guy until, I became like a real NASCAR fan. You start hearing the way he's spoken about, and people just speak so highly of him. You mentioned the Denny Hamlin interview where he said he would prepare him a car anytime he wants him. Anytime he's back at the track, you're right. It's like almost like up there with, I shouldn't say it. I was going to say up there with like MJ being at the track, like people go crazy. But it almost is like NASCAR fans' white whale in a way, where it's like when he is at the track, like people seem to be excited. There's buzz around it. And he, like Moonhead said, he's done a great job with the media appearances we've seen him on. And I think he's a welcome addition anytime. For a guy that's seemingly like, I don't know, we were led to believe there for a minute that he wanted nothing to do with racing anymore, and now he's just coming back and kind of we're all getting to know him. At least I say that from our perspective, Large. But yeah, I think it's been great.
I tend to agree. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Quiggs, did you give a fuck that Jimmy Johnson ran this week?
No, I mean it's not. I hate to say it's great, but like I have a running bit that he's just always out on like lap 1 or 2. So it kind
By
of
the way, he got caught up in that first crash. Too.
Makes me chuckle every
you.
time I see like an early wreck with him, which I shouldn't. It's kind of disrespectful to do that, but I do.
You guys mind if I make him nobody's cooler? Because I have to, right? There's a mystique about him. Because if Carl Edwards was driving this weekend as opposed to Jimmy Johnson, there's a chance you'd want to go to it, right?
Yeah. Oh, I would be way more interested to see Carl Edwards than Jimmy Johnson.
All right, so he's 45 years old. He's 6'1". He's 185 pounds. To me, he's like a Chuck Norris meme. Carl Edwards wears rib condoms inside out just for his own pleasure, like that type of shit. You know what I mean? Anything that you could say about Chuck Norris, I think you know when he slices onions cry. That type of shit. That's where I got the guy now. He doesn't have cable. His great do you know this? His great grandfather. You know who his great grandfather is?
No.
Rutherford B. Hayes, the 19th president of the fucking United States. Rutherford B. Hayes, by the way, was not a very good president. Not all his fault. Came in after the Civil War, had a lot of fucking work to do. One-term president. But still, it's Rutherford B. Hayes, right? It's Carl Edwards' great-grandfather. I think that's cool as shit. Over 13 years in the Cup Series, won 28 races. Last year, he was named in that 75th anniversary, one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers, and next year he'll be inducted in the Hall of Fame. He hosted WWE Raw. He presented both Showcase Showdowns on the fucking Price is Right because they had a NASCAR-themed show. So Carl Edwards went in and said, a new car, or whatever the fuck it was in that thing. Guy, he had a small role in 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. I love that show. Everything about this guy, I think that he's cool. So nobody's cooler than Carl Edwards this week. That's what I'm going to do. It's brought to you by Arctic Coolers. Go to arcticoutdoors.com. Pick yours up today. The greatest drinkware, insulated drinkware and coolers that you can buy in the fucking world. Go fuck yourself, Yeti. So that's it. It's Carl Edwards, and I loved it. And he drove the pace car this week. So it's just kind of cool to see the guy around there. But back to the race. Kansas, we know, is the scene of the closest finish in history. And one of the things that people shit on him last year is that Bockety start-finish line. They fixed that. Kansas has a start-finish line now that you could slice an apple on. It is absolutely laser sharp and all that stuff. So it's kind of nice to see because it gives people less to complain about. Christopher Bell started on the pole for his third straight Kansas race. Same with Christopher Bell. He dominated the first 72 laps and then hit the wall. With only 8 laps left in stage 1, Byron took the lead, wins the stage. Same thing with Bell at the end of stage 2. He says he was aero blocked while P2 hits the wall and finishes the stage 16th. All in all, Christopher Bell led 122 laps and he finished P7, but that's not the story at all. He had a very, very tough day. That make you giggle, Quiggs? I know sometimes that word Schadenfreude, that where you're drinking tears, that German word where you take pleasure. You tend to predict that Chris Bell is a very good driver in a very good car, but something's going to happen where he's not going to do that well, and that's exactly what happened.
The worst things happen to him when he's doing the best. It's
Yeah.
just kind of what happens to Bell. So it doesn't make me giggle, but makes me be like, yeah, I knew that was coming.
I tend to think you're more of a masochist. Do you feel
Little bit.
bad for Bell at this point, Spider, or his P7 finish? He's actually, he moved further away from the cut line, but certainly could have had a fucking banner day. How do you feel about Chris Bell? How do you feel about betting on Chris Bell? I was looking at the futures. I think he's the second shortest odds now behind Kyle Larson for the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. How do you feel about Chris Bell?
I think he's the favorite, Large, and I
Is
think
he?
let me confirm right now, but I like where he's at. I think he's in a good spot. You're right. He's second favorite. Larson is 4.5 to 1. Bell is 5 to 1 on DraftKings Sportsbook. I personally think, I don't know. I think he's in a good spot. He's in a good spot to make the Final Four as he did last year. And as Quiggs preys on, he had some bad luck early in the Final Four.
He has enough good results out of there that he's not like a bad
The
luck
championship
guy.
four, I should
Final
say.
Four driver, yeah.
Yeah,
If I bet on him and he had a great first stage, I would be like, this isn't going to hold. That would kind of be my thoughts on that.
I just think he's kind of looked the same, if not better, than what we saw last year, and he's setting himself up for a deep playoff run. And yeah, I mean, 7th place, I would have liked to see him finish better than that. I thought he was one of the better cars, but I think he's in a good spot. I'm not hitting the panic button. I would hit the panic button on his teammate Denny Hamlin, maybe. I feel like he's kind of in a bad spot. His odds have gone up and up and up each week of the playoffs, whereas Bell's have gone down and down. So I don't know. If there's a guy at Joe Gibbs I'm worrying about, it's Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, and afterwards, Jeff Gluck had put a microphone in his face, and Denny had said something about, his focus being off or being rattled. He then explained himself on actions detrimental, saying it was more of a, just for that race in the moment. He's extremely focused on the playoffs, but he's got a lot of shit. I mean, Denny Hamlin has got more moving parts than just about anybody in a car, more so than Brad, who's also a part owner. The charter agreement stuff and just all this shit. I like Denny Hamlin does seem like sometimes he's somewhere else, but yet I don't count him out. I still got that future on him that I'm holding on to. If you had to place a fresh bet right now, and not Kyle Larson, if you had to place a fresh bet right now on who you think is going to win the Cup Series championship, think about that. I'm going to ask you that again in a couple of minutes. Like, who would you do right now? And I have my answer, too, when it goes. Tough day for Kyle Larson. Ran over some debris that Shane Van Giesenberg left on the track to bring out the second caution with a blown right rear around lap 20. Never recovered. I think Kyle Larson finished P26, so he had a tough day. The race became Kyle Busch versus Ross Chastain, and then with 32 laps to go, Kyle Busch was leading when he spun out trying to pass Chase Briscoe, who was trying to remain on the lead lap. This thing is being picked apart like the Zapruder film, as usual. Is this Briscoe's fault? Is this Kyle Busch's fault? Briscoe said at the end, I hate that for Kyle Busch. Freddie Kraft I'd seen on social had said, I hate when drivers say I hate that for this guy. Who's at fault here? Was nobody at fault here? What do you guys think?
I don't know if Busch needed to be that aggressive right there, but I don't know. I mean,
I
don't know. What do you
that was for Kyle for Briscoe to stay on the lead lap, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
So I understand why he's racing hard. I kind of would side with Quiggs because I mean, your P1, there is really no need to be that aggressive. I understand, obviously, Briscoe is going to make it hard for you to get by, but at the same time, like, for this point in Kyle Busch's season in 2024, if you're up front, like, drive that thing, like, I don't know. I would be so cautious in every single move, and I just think it was kind of unnecessary. There's been times this year where I've got on Kyle Busch for not being as aggressive, whether it be in his post-race interview or actually on the track. And this is one of those instances where I think I'm with Quiggs, where he was probably a little bit too aggressive. Just take an extra second, get by him.
'Cause there was still what? That was with 30-some laps? 50 laps?
Yeah, and I know Chastain was coming, if I remember correctly, but I don't know. I think it was just unnecessary.
And Briscoe gave him a little bit of room, not a ton. But again, he's trying to stay on the lead lap, so he's just hard racing as anybody. Moon, do you see it differently?
No, I don't think it happens if Briscoe's not in the playoffs, though. I think if Briscoe's just out there putting around outside the playoffs, he probably goes to the bottom and lets those guys go. But as we've seen, every point matters. So he can't just pull over. He's struggling. He's having a bad day. And honestly, Kyle didn't even seem mad at him. Like, Kyle seemed like it was just an aero deal and that he lost it. So I don't think Briscoe did anything wrong.
He said he felt numb. That's what Kyle... I mean, Briscoe was pretty verbose. I hate it for him. He's been close all year long. I'm a Kyle Busch fan. I wanted to see him keep his streak alive. I hate that we're part of this conversation. If it's not what we needed, it's certainly not what we wanted. And then Kyle Busch was more like numb. I almost felt like Kyle was getting choked up. He wasn't, but you know what I'm saying? Like when he just got out of the car. Is there a chance this guy walks away? Like what's the tipping point for, a Hall of Fame driver who's, an elite guy? It just seems like there was that plan that he would kind of stick around racing, particularly for Braxton's benefit and whatnot. Every week I just see this guy get his fucking heart ripped out a little bit more. I think it was the spotter who had said to Briscoe's spotter, though they got into it a little bit, and he's like, Kyle could have put you in the wall when you got your win to get into, what was it, Darlington? When you got your win to get into the playoffs. So there was a little bit of animosity between the spotters, but it seems like the drivers were pretty gentlemanly to it. Where do you think Kyle Busch is? I mean, you think he's like, you know what? I'm going to fucking pull a Martin Truex. I'm done with this shit after next season. Or I'm just walking away after this.
I think his tipping point would be another season of this.
Okay, one more.
I think if he has a repeat of what happened this season, next season, I think you could really start talking about, is he going to want to come back for another season after that? And I don't know if he would.
I think he's going to remain until RCR says, hey, we want Ty Dillon in that car. Until then...
you think basically it won't be his choice?
I don't know.
Like he'll get removed
I think,
before he
my
leaves?
point is I think he's going to be there long term. As much as we discussed earlier this year that he might go to the 7 car and that might be kind of a lateral move, I do think he's going to remain at RCR. I do agree that obviously he would be very frustrated with this result again next season, but I'm not prepared to say that he would walk away. Would he explore changing teams for real? Probably, but I don't think he would just hang it up. I kind of buy into the whole Kyle Busch has intentions to race until Braxton is at least a little bit ready. I know that's kind of seems like a long time, but I don't know. I don't think he's just going to walk away on back to Carl Edwards. I don't see it going down like that.
I was extremely invested in this race when it was Kyle Busch swapping lead with Ross Chastain and William Byron hot on their heels. And then when Kyle did, spin out and it ruined the rest of his day, it just turned into Byron and Chastain. And then Chastain pulls off the win, his 5th Cup Series win. Celebration was very long. Did everybody else notice that? Chastain really took his time with that burnout and the whole, eating the watermelon, saying, hey, 1 second, I got to finish this watermelon. It seems like he's trying to make that point that he's a disruptor. Just like he had won the championship race in Phoenix, even though he wasn't part of the championship 4. It seems like he's really relishing the fact that even though NASCAR is in the playoff series, you have to pay attention to everybody in the field. Did you guys get that? Was it a little bit too long? I found it to be a tiny bit annoying.
I was watching in the gambling cave, and I was like telling the guys beside me, get ready, here comes the watermelon celebration.
Right.
And it actually was a little bit anticlimactic. And I think that's because it was so dragged out. So I kind of agree. But at the same time, I feel like that we've had drivers on the show, or maybe there's like a famous quote or something like, you never know when your next win is going to come again, so you really have to relish every single one. Something to that tune.
Yeah.
So for that part of me is like Ross Chastain, and I kind of said it. Like, I had extreme high expectations, more so for Ross Chastain than Team Trackhouse. And they've done a good job this season. Suarez, obviously, in the playoffs, Chastain, rather, winning this weekend. But for Chastain specifically, I had a lot of lofty expectations for him this year. I thought he was going to be disrupting often, like we saw a few years ago, large, and it really didn't. So from that metric, like, you know, this is a hard league to win in. So I kind of say let these guys celebrate however they want, whether it means piñata, rugby ball, watermelon, 20-minute Polish victory lap, whatever they want to do, they've earned it. So
Yeah.
credit to Ross.
And at least he has some theatrics in his.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just doing.
But that being said, my one complaint is grow the beard back out. It's just, it's still kind of like unfamiliar for me, at least.
I hear you. Was it a good race?
I thought
Yeah.
it was a good race. Yeah, I was entertained thoroughly.
30 lead changes, 15 drivers. Kyle Busch in contention for a win up until about 30 laps to go. William Byron seemingly back. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff going on. A bunch of playoff drivers just having an absolute dog shit day.
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick leaps to mind right away.
You
What
had
would you give it?
Larson wrecking early. Like,
Yeah.
the whole race throughout, I thought was pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
And Kansas always delivers like that. I feel like I don't ever remember watching a Kansas race and being disappointed. So, I don't know. It seems like a great track.
But that's recent, right? Kansas used to be not the and this car just does very well on these intermediate tracks. What would you give it? Scale of 1 to 100, Spider. The Kansas race.
I would say like 85.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I have it too. You son of a
Yeah,
bitch.
I hope that's a fair score. I don't know. Like I said, there was action throughout the whole race. You had favorites to win the race. Kyle Larson getting in it in lap 20 or 25, whatever it was. And then you had Kyle Busch, a guy who was looking for his first win. Chastain in that category as well. Could Bell get there and get a win? He was kind of the playoff driver I was watching. I don't know. I thought it was very, very entertaining.
Quiggs, give it a grade, or tell me who you think had the best and worst day. Then, if you don't want to give it a grade or do
Okay.
both, doesn't matter to me.
I'll do both. I mean, my grade is pretty much in line with yours. I was gonna give it an 80%. So
Okay.
kind of have the same thought process on that. And then if I had to give a best and a worst,
Outside of Chastain, obviously, the winner always has the best day.
Chastain was great. Blaney was pretty good. Well, I guess Truex. Blaney I would have expected to be good. I was kind of low on Truex, and him getting a third place finish I think is huge for him. So he overperformed big time for my standards of what I thought he was gonna do. And then I'll stick to playoff drivers only I guess you got to give it to Larson.
For the worst day.
Yeah. Tough day. I mean, I'll give it to Jimmy Johnson. No.
Yeah. P36, right? I mean,
But-
it's thanks
Yeah,
for
let's
coming.
give it to Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, of course you will.
Yeah.
Moon, what did you think? What did you think of the race? Who had the worst? Who had the best day?
I'd be right there with y'all around an 80. I think the best day, even though he finished sixth, so he didn't do as great as some of his competitors. But Bowman, I feel like a lot of people were counting him out, and he is, like you guys said earlier, kind of come out swinging in the playoffs. Cindric, I know his day went the way it did. And now he's going to be digging himself out of a hole. So he would be my worst if we're sticking to playoff drivers. If not, I would give it to Barry, and not really of his doing. He was in that wreck, and then they dumped him in the campground and wouldn't let him go back to pit road to get 4 new tires on the thing. So
That was crazy.
they need to, that's a rule that really needs to be looked at before Phoenix, because I would hate to see a situation where a championship guy gets spun out early, is beached down there against the inside wall, and because he made contact with the inside wall, they hook him up and drag him into the garage and tell him he's done and his championship's over. So hopefully they can find something. I get they don't want broken cars out there dumping parts, but that was pretty ridiculous to drag him into the campgrounds like that and make him get out.
Yeah, something's got to be done. I mean, we mentioned it with Blaney a couple weeks ago, but yeah, it's getting to be egregious. And like you said, if this ruins the championship 4, holy shit. People are going to start lighting torches. Spider, you got any like honorable mentions on who did well, who didn't?
Yeah, I'm going to give flowers to Zane Smith. Finished P10. I thought he had a really good, strong day and kind of seemingly out of nowhere. I thought this race was going to be, Denny and Larson battling it out up front, and it really wasn't. It was other playoff drivers. And I was impressed that Zane Smith, who seemingly found something in the second half of this season, I've been impressed with him recently, and I think he deserves a little bit of credit. And hopefully, he's in a good spot next year to build on what he's learned. So, credit to Zane Smith. In terms of underwhelming, I don't really know. Maybe, it kills me to say, but maybe the Spire guys, hosts of our 32nd, Haley 33rd. That being said, I was really annoyed by the people online trying to take like a victory lap for Justin Haley's like 33rd place performance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really dumb, and I think that those takes are going to age like milk. Who knows? It could be me saying this that ages like milk, but to like make fun of and like, I don't know. I just think it's dumb. Like, Haley's had literally one race in the 7 car. Let's not jump to conclusions. I think he was tapped for that ride for good reason. So I look forward to seeing what else he can do there.
I think Reddick unfortunately shit the bed. Everyone was expecting so much from him, and now he's below the cut line. I think the Justin Haley, if there is any kind of chatter or hate about him, it's undue. But at least we do have stuff to look at for the rest of the season. Like, we can say, Corey finishing P15, good for Corey. And then, Justin finishing P33, what happened? And we can always just blame it on Stephen Parsons, right? He's a good friend of ours. We've hung out with him multiple times. And, sometimes he just mumbles, and it's tough for him to understand. But we're going to ask Justin Haley about that, because we have him coming up right now. We're about to go 3 wide with Justin Haley. But first, I want to remind you, not about this week's race, but the next race that Spider and I are going to, and that's Homestead Miami. Homestead Miami offers a one-of-a-kind race experience. The racetrack is located between the vibrancy of South Beach and the calm of the Florida Keys. Drivers will be leaving it all out on the track October 26th and 27th as they compete to make it to the Championship 4 for a chance to win the NASCAR Cup Series Championship in Phoenix. Witness the best drivers in motorsports battle it out on this 1.5-mile oval track featuring 18 to 20-degree variable banking designed to deliver high-speed action and unpredictable finishes. So purchase your tickets today for 2 back-to-back days of thrilling NASCAR action in the Florida sunshine at Homestead Miami Speedway, and that's all going down on October 26th and 27th. But before any of that, let's go 3 wide with our guy, Justin Haley. All right, so as advertised, we got Justin Haley on the show for the first time. Justin is the driver of the number 7 Chevy Camaro for Spire Motorsports as of this week. And Justin, I only one question. How bad is Stephen Parsons at his job? Fuck that guy, right? He mumbles. He's got all these code words that nobody knows. Talk to me about that.
It's a difficult situation jumping in a race car halfway through the season. So, no, he's got, honestly, I took, more blame on it for myself, just not processing it quick enough. But, live and learn. It definitely is, just different people having different conversations and, different code words and things, but only makes you better.
I thought the announcers and the coverage did a very good job saying, hey, by the way, if you think that Justin had made some sort of big mistake, let's just listen to a typical spotter for 30 seconds. They put it on, and all of a sudden it was like, this, Omaha 37, all this kind of bullshit going on that makes your head spin. At some point, does that get a little bit too much of a distraction? To just physically, we're talking about what it's like to be a driver, to constantly have those guys in your ear. Is it sometimes a distraction? Is it more of a distraction than it is a benefit sometimes?
No, not necessarily. I think spotters are very important. And I think, just as the life goes on and season progresses, normally you are in sync with your spotter, right? So as soon as you get something new, you don't think about it, right? We had so many meetings and planned so much that you try to cover all the bases, but until you're kind of in the heat of the moment, you don't realize some of the stuff. So no, I mean more times than not, I mean you wouldn't have a situation like that, but yeah, I thought like I said, live and learn.
You mentioned yourself, it's not exactly easy changing teams, changing cars mid-season. What were the expectations outlined to you for the 7 car for the rest of the year? And why was it decided on to make the move mid-season as opposed to waiting towards the end of the season?
No expectations. I mean, it's obviously going to be a completely different situation that I'm in next year with Rodney. So yeah, there's no expectations. Just wanted me to come in and get a feel back for the Chevys and through their processes and stuff. And then, yeah, I don't know about the decision. I wasn't part of it. I just get told where to drive what week. So, yeah, I was probably one of the last to know on that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity. I'm glad I'm with Spire Motorsports again, and yeah, try to make the most of it this year and roll on to next year.
And you say again, so it's sort of like a homecoming. I mean, is your locker still there? Familiar faces, that type of thing? I mean, what's it like to come on back?
Yeah, a lot of the executives and core like shop people are the same. The 77 group is still the 77 group pretty much. Besides obviously Luke Lambert being the crew chief, but the crew guys, that I had at Spire on the 77 car are still pretty similar on that car. So yeah, there's a lot of unique differences. Obviously, they're in a bigger shop now, taking over the KBM building, and yeah, some other differences. But it's been a good busy past week or so. It's definitely been a lot of meetings and trying to get back in the groove of it. And I thought we had a decent weekend going for a little bit. I think we showed a lot of speed. I think we were in the top 12 there for a bit on speed. So yeah, we'll be fine. Just try to work out the kinks here and go forward.
During your time when it was announced you were going to move to Spire, was there anyone at Rick Ware Racing or Brad K or anyone really for that matter that reached out and offered advice or congratulations on this move for you?
I talked to Brad on a track walk and yeah, a little bit, but I wouldn't say anything too crazy. Just that they were supportive of my decision.
Why the hell did you give up JJ? I think JJ Haley is such a fucking name. I mean, JJ Yeley sounds pretty good too, but just looking it up, Justin C. Haley from Winamac, Indiana. I mean, that sounds like a goddamn JJ. And on the other side, JJ Yeley's real name is Christopher Beltram Hernandez Yeley. And I'm not putting down the fact that JJ, I believe that was his father's name. So I really respect that. But Christopher Beltram Hernandez Yeley, there's a dozen nicknames I could get for him off the top of my head. JJ Haley, fuck, that's a rock star name. You know what? Did he have to pay you a couple of bucks? Sometimes you see that in the NFL if you want a jersey number and stuff like that. How'd that go down?
No. JJ's cool though.
Very nice guy.
He's always been good to me. So yeah, great guy. But yeah, I don't know. When I started Kanan and ARCA racing, it was just time to let go of the kid name and grow into Justin. So yeah, I don't know. Kind of got told what to do by my upper control staff. They kind of led that.
You miss it?
I mean, it's a nickname, so I don't know.
I mean, if somebody was to stop calling me large tomorrow, I think I'd blow my brain. Nah, I wouldn't give a fuck either. I guess I'm just looking for something. But I mean, does anyone around the house call you JJ?
No, a lot of people call me Jay. A lot of my close friends just call me Jay. I've just dropped a J, so now it's just Jay. But I will go to the track, and a lot of fans still call me JJ. You wouldn't believe how many people, when you're signing autographs and stuff, will still call me JJ. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to call you JJ for the rest of your life. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Perfect. Yeah. Good. Go ahead, Spider. Sorry.
One storyline we got a kick out of earlier this year, and congratulations to you and your wife, was that you tied the knot to your wife, who's named Haley. Did she potentially have a nickname as well? Because her name is now Haley Haley.
No, I don't know if anyone really calls her anything but Haley. I know it's a disaster when she's booking reservations and stuff. or I'm putting her down. Maybe I go to the doctor for a checkup and I got to put her down as my emergency call or whatever, and they're always get a kick out of it. But yeah, definitely interesting names I have around myself.
Yeah, well, I'll go back to racing now. And the one thing that this podcast is, it's kind of for new NASCAR fans. Large and I are very like casual elementary NASCAR fans. Can you explain to us how significant and substantial and important a crew chief is and what we can expect for you pairing up with Rodney Childers for next year?
Yeah, I mean it's the coach, right, on your football team. It's the guy who leads all the crew members and makes the important decisions, and it's definitely someone you have to have a close relationship with and understanding and a bond with that goes much deeper than just professional. So yeah, I'm excited to work with Ronnie. We had dinner a few weeks, I guess last week, a few weeks ago. I mean, it all has happened so quickly, but so we had dinner last week. And yeah, he's cool. He's just a racer. I just want to show up, race. You usually don't see me doing too much but racing. So we're kind of racers at heart, and that's just what we do. So yeah, he's cool. He's a calm guy, right? Like, I don't know if you ever spoken to Rodney, but he doesn't get too wound up. Although I did hear he got a little wound up this weekend.
Yeah, you put his guy in the campground with 4 flat tires, and you see a different Rodney, I think, right? He had some choice words.
I tell you, they could put me in the campground at Talladega. I probably wouldn't be too mad, but as long as it was after the race. But yeah, Rodney's he's calm. I'm a calm guy, pretty chill. Just show up, do your job, leave, work hard throughout the week, and do it all again. So yeah, I'm excited to work with Rodney for sure.
Speaking of Talladega, one thing that I had to ask was, I guess, what can we expect from you this week as a guy that's previously had success at plate tracks, winning at Daytona in the Cup Series? Are we within reason to expect big things from Justin Haley this week?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Stefan does this weekend. Spotters are important way. So no, Stefan's racing Friday. So he was actually asking me for some pointers today in one of our meetings, and we're just trying to get to know each other. So yeah, I've had some meetings. I'm not sure. The age-old question is, do you race or do you hang out in the back and hope they all wreck and then you finish, decent? So it's always interesting going to the speedway during a playoff race. You got half the guys who need points, half the guys who are just happy to be there, and I guess the other third would just be conserving, right? The guys who are decent shape in the playoffs. So the Dega race is always kind of you just got to get out there and feel it. You can't plan it too much. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to expect out of the 7 group this week. I know they're going to bring me a fast Gainbridge Chevy number 7 car. I just got to figure out where to place it at the right moment.
Do you think we'll be seeing them feather the throttle? One thing that's really grinded my gears as a big race fan, especially at the plate tracks I love watching, was earlier this year at Daytona, I believe it was, when they were like not wide open. They were babying the throttle. Yeah. I didn't like that. Do you think we'll see that this weekend?
Yeah, we're gonna be half throttle. So
oh no.
It's just strategic, you just want to spend as little time in the pits as possible. So yeah, unfortunately we're kind of in a box now where we've all gotten so smart that all we do is save fuel. So it definitely makes the racing interesting.
And then when it gets crazy towards the end, then people start to take chances. And I can understand a lot of playoff drivers concentrating on getting some stage wins and some stage points and all that stuff. How do you feel the number 7 team expects you to be in terms of aggressiveness at a super speedway? Like, is it one of those things where as a non-playoff driver, you see some blood in the fucking water and you can kind of go at it and be ultra aggressive, and yet it's only your second week in the car, and maybe, you kind of want to protect the car a little bit. You don't want to be the guy that comes in and wrecks a 7 every week or something. So where is the aggression level put on you? Like, what do people expect from Justin Haley as far as being aggressive at the super speedway, particularly this weekend?
In the meetings I've had, they don't really care what I do as long as I do as much as possible to try to win the race. So yeah, I haven't not being held back or anything, right? They usually trust the driver, and you guys can see a lot more than we can see right inside the race car, but we feel certain things, and yeah, fortunately enough, they have just kind of told me, just to do kind of what I want to do this weekend. And, if that's right around in 30th all day and then, magically finish 5th at the end, that could be it. Or if we want to go win a stage and, lead the dang thing, we can do that too. So it kind of depends on where you qualify, right? If you qualify in the top 10, no reason to get out of there, right? But if you qualify, 25th, 30th, things like that, you probably want to be a little more conservative just because it's so hard to race up towards the front and actually make up track positions. So, I don't know. You just got to see where you qualify. Like I said, I know they're going to bring me a fast race car, so we'll probably qualify up front and hopefully stay there.
And then if we know kind of what the expectations are from the team and all that stuff, we spoke about it at the top of the show. It's something we're excited for, is the second season with Netflix. Like, now you have the opportunity to get on TV. You have the opportunity to take back JJ, because I'm going to make it sure. So JJ Haley is the absolute star of the second, season of the NASCAR Netflix special. How open are you? Because the storyline of you and Corey switching seats is something that's probably going to be touched on, right? On this. I know a lot of people want to be part of special. How open are you to letting them be part of your life? Because you had one guy like Denny Hamlin say, you can come in and watch me burn pancakes in front of my kids. And you had maybe another guy like Chase Elliott who said, you know what, I'm going to be off snowboard and you can't really get in my TP. Whereas Justin Haley, as far as his desire to be a Netflix star as well as a NASCAR driver?
Whatever's best for the sponsor.
Right.
I guess is I didn't watch the first series or whatever that was. I don't know too much about it, but whatever they tell me to do, I'll obviously do.
Absolutely. It's going to be point and click. Listen, I know that it's a busy week for all you guys going down to Alabama. We really appreciate your time, Justin, and we hope to have you on the show sometime soon. Congratulations on the new ride, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck going forward.
Yep. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Have a great one. All right, so that was Justin Haley, first time on the show, and I would love to have him back on the show just about every week because he's a very, very nice guy, but we're going to have to move on. Talladega, he had spoke to us and broke it down a little bit, but we have a full calendar of racing this weekend, including trucks on Friday, October 4th at 4:30 on FS1. We got the Xfinity running the United Rentals 250 on Saturday, October 5th at 4 p.m. on the CW, if you can get it. And then finally, we got the Yellowwood 500, which is going to be 2 p.m. on NBC on Sunday. So a full spate of racing for racing fans this weekend. Just remember, Friday's FS1, Saturday is the CW, and then the Cup race on Sunday is on NBC at 2 p.m. Nothing left to do but to make some picks, and Picking the Tires is brought to you by DraftKings. So if you call it a touchdown, a tutty, taking it to the house, in for 6, whatever the hell you call a touchdown, one thing's for sure, touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So on the ground, in the air, from the special teams or defense, we don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown or how many TDs will be in a game. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. And if you're ready to do a touchdown dance of your own, new DraftKings customers bet only $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Rubbin, RUBBIN. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, guys, let's make some picks. Why don't we pick like a favorite, a long shot, and then we'll go from there. Who do you guys like this week? I don't care who goes first.
Before we start on the NASCAR picks, I just want to say real quick my end zone crown touchdown scores that I gave out last week on this show. I know this, again, a NASCAR pick.
Yes.
Both my touchdown NFL picks scored Kyron Williams and David Montgomery. So I'm back alive in Stoolvivor for the $50,000 bonus bet courtesy of DraftKings. Let's hopefully win this thing. There's 12 people still alive. 17 people could potentially win if they get their buybacks correct this week. Quiggs, are you still alive?
I lost this week, so I have to do the 2 again. But
so one of us, you could be looking at the DraftKings Stoolvivor. So stay tuned for that.
It's not easy, Spider, right? I mean, it's I think the less you know about football, the better you are
Yes.
at that, because
I was
there's
just
so
saying,
many moving parts.
It's easy it's easy to pick who should score, but then they start playing the game and they don't get in the end zone, and you're like, how is this not happening?
It's about to get very hard because a lot of people just were very chalky for the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Right.
With, the best guys, the Derrick Henrys, the Alvin Kamaras. And now that those players are used, people are going to have to dig deep and find some unique picks. So I'm interested to see what happens. In the meantime, who's got NASCAR picks? Let's get back to racing, fellas.
I got picks.
Go ahead, Quiggs.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you start
Take us out, Quiggs. Take us
All
out.
right.
First of all, I asked at the top of the show, if you had to place one bet, and it's not Kyle Larson, for a NASCAR Cup Series championship, so I want that. I want your pick to win the race, and I want a long shot. Is that too much to ask? And if you have any wacky parlays, please go ahead.
All right. No, I can do that. I'm keeping it pretty simple. Just 3 outrights. And I'm taking Reddick plus 1,800. Alex Bowman plus 2,800. I love him I feel like he's always got a shot near the end at plate tracks without even having a great race. He's just always up there. Mm-hmm. And then my long shot, probably an awful pick, but I don't know. I gut feeling Shane Van Gisbergen plus 8,000.
Really?
Not on a road course. We're on an oval, and who knows? Maybe some weird shit happens. He's up there. I'm taking him. And then if you want a future, which I wouldn't take because I don't like taking NASCAR Cup Series champions, I would go because I love big numbers and odds. I think the best value out of here would be Chase Elliott plus 1,000.
Okay.
But I personally won't be taking it. I don't like taking futures in NASCAR.
All right, I'll go next. My chalky pick is going to be Ryan Blaney. He's 9-1. He's the favorite to win alongside Joey Logano and Ford driver Brad Keselowski are all 9-1. I think Blaney is the guy I'd want out of those, and he's the favorite for good reason. He's always seemingly up front late at the end at plate tracks. I've said it before. I'm going to continue to ride him here. And the other pick I'm going to give is William Byron. He's 13-1, so he's kind of like a middle-of-the-road, little bit longer odds. Both those guys are 1 and 2 in playoff series, NASCAR Cup Series standings right now, and I think for good reason. Those guys are dynamic and good at a lot of tracks, particularly plate tracks. I just mentioned my spiel on Blaney, but William Byron, let's not forget who won the Daytona 500 this year. This could be another good opportunity for him. So those are my 2 main plays. And then my long shot this week is going to be a guy that we just had on the show. It's Justin Haley, 55-1 to win the damn thing. His Cup Series 1 win came at Daytona. It's a plate track. Kind of similar to Talladega. Well, I mean, I guess very similar, the closest thing to Talladega. So I'm going to go with Justin Haley, 55-1. And I also think a top 3 is 15-1 right now, which is juicy in itself. And who knows? I mean, like last week, I thought it was all going to be playoff guys up front. It really wasn't. This week, I would say probably all going to be playoff guys up front. But who's to say it's not another crazy race where we see a bunch of wrecks and there's guys like fucking Parker Retzlaff that could end up winning the thing. So
Right.
That's why I got Haley at 55-1, and I don't mean to disrespect him like that. I think 55-1 is a good price for a guy who is a great wheelman and proven that he can win at this kind of track. So those are my cards for right now. And then in terms of futures, I hate to be redundant, but it would probably be William Byron or Ryan Blaney, who are both 7-1 right now to win the championship. I like the storyline of William Byron, the 24 car in 2024. Shout out my guy Patrick from NASCAR. We've long been plotting all season.
That's the storyline.
24 and 24.
Well, no, I mean, he started the season with a win.
Yep.
And he kind of cooled off, and now he's seeming to kind of get hot again at the right time. So I like William Byron personally. Blaney is right there behind him or with him, but I wouldn't take it only because I think asking Ryan Blaney, who is one of my personal favorite Cup drivers, one of the most talented, to win 2 Cup Series championships in a row is one of the greediest things one can do, in my opinion. It's probably the hardest there's a lot of variables and a level of randomness associated with winning a championship. And for that reason, I would not put money on Blaney to do it 2 years in a row, as much as I would love to see him do it. So it would be Byron for me. And I hope as the weeks continue to go by and the playoffs go on, his price continues to come back down closer to the Bells and the Larsons of the world to win the championship. Let's get my boy Willie B in the championship.
Let's go. Anyone can win, right? And particularly people are going to be playing it a little bit safe, right? Try to win some stages. So there are people who don't give a shit about stages, non-playoff drivers, who could probably set up better going into the end of this race, perhaps, but anything can happen at Talladega. But there is no bet that is a bad bet, except for that Shane bet that Quiggs had put down. I'm going to say for my my Cup future, I'm going to throw it on Logano at plus 1,100. I actually placed that bet earlier today. For my long shot, I'm taking Carson Hocevar plus 8,000. Carson Hocevar has been rolling pretty well, so I'm going to take him plus 8,000. I'm taking Daniel Hemrick as a top 5 at plus 700. Those are two long shots that I'm grabbing right there. And then to win the race, my only chalky pick, I don't have one yet. But I'm very close to taking Brad. I'll take Brad. I'll take Brad Keselowski at plus 900. Plus 900. So Brad, Bad Brad, Carson Hocevar, which I haven't said out loud, Daniel Hemrick as a top 5, and then Joey Logano as the future. Moon, anything jump out at you?
Honestly, I was going to take Brad and Hocevar, so I really like those.
Really? Get the fuck out of here. Look at us.
Josh Berry ran so good at Daytona until he flipped his ass off that I feel like he's another one. And then McDowell's always strong. So I don't know. It's so tough at Dega, especially with how these things play out now. You'll pick somebody and be like, they're totally going to win that race. And then lap 8, they're out of it. So
next thing you know, SVG wins it.
Yeah. So who knows? And then for the championship, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but it feels this year's been goofy enough that I could see Bowman just kicking it into high gear here and winning the championship, and then we'll spend the rest of the offseason watching NASCAR scramble to make whatever format they do in response to Bowman winning a championship. So if I was betting on it right now, I would probably bet on Bowman.
Cool. All right, so that's it for us at Rubbin is Racing. Again, thank you again to Justin Haley for taking time out of his week to speak to us. We'd love to have him on, at some point later on in the season, certainly next season. Anything else to shout out before we go, guys?
No, buy those shirts that we talked about at the beginning of the episode.
Yes, Mountain Strong shirts. You can get them on the Barstool Sports Store. All proceeds go to a food bank in North Carolina. Spider, you got some iRacing?
We got iRacing coming the same day. You're hopefully probably listening to this. If you're listening on Thursday, we're going to be live this afternoon. There's probably a good chance it already happened. But if you're one of our first most loyal listeners, maybe like Cruz Byron on Twitter, I believe his name is, and you listen early, just know that later this afternoon we will be live with some iRacing content.
And that'll be from the Barstool channels, right? Not our.
It will be on. It will be on
channels.
Viva La Stool, from what I
we'll
understand.
Retweet it and stuff, but it'll be aired through there.
It will also be shared on the Rubbin socials. But yeah, that's all we got. Make sure you buy a T-shirt. That's all we got.
Perfect. So that's going to be tonight because this thing is dropping on Thursday. And for both of our Jewish listeners, I'd like to wish Lashana Tova because it's the beginning of Rosh Hashanah. And that's it. We'll see you next week on Rubbin. We're huge in the Jewish NASCAR community. Spider, you remember that, right?
That's right. Shout out.
I couldn't remember what his name was.
Oh, damn.
Guy was absolutely beautiful beast. That's it for us. We'll see you next week. Rubbin is Racing.